Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to the Sports Ball Talk Show.
What's going on, guys?
Week 2 was fucking ridiculous.
I hated it.
I liked it, and I mean, yeah, I hate my.
From a gambling perspective, I hated it.
Yeah, I didn't go negative this week, but I broke even.
Oh, I went negative.
But yeah, I mean, I thought I was winning a lot of money this week because I thought there was a lot of free games. Bills winning, Chiefs winning, Cowboys winning, Jags winning. These all seemed like pretty free games.
No.
And we were wrong. The Cowboys got slaughtered by the Cardinals. It was mostly due to penalties.
Cardinals had a great run game.
They did. Cardinals, James Conner ran through that entire defense. Micah Parsons really didn't do much but get one sack on Josh Dobbs and then celebrate. I mean, a sack is good, obviously, but you lost. And then the Texans beating the Jags. I think after last week, people just kind of hoped the Jags' loss was a one-off type thing.
Like a wash, yeah.
Yeah, but people are now, I think now you kind of have to start thinking, are the Jags really the team to beat in the AFC South? Especially with the Colts beating the Ravens with their backup. I mean, the Colts are looking better than the Jaguars by far at this point in the season. Like, better defense, better offense on paper, and every regard. Like, better pass game, run game, allowing less points, scoring more points. Everything about the Colts is better. They're beating more impressive teams like the Ravens and the Jaguars.
I agree.
Yeah, couldn't even beat the Texans. I understand it's a divisional game, and divisional games are always like, you know, whatever. They don't mean a whole lot in terms of like how good of a team you are.
Yeah, but still, I mean, when you're playing against the Texans, and
right.
they're pretty rated lowly. I mean, they still got a rookie quarterback there. Trevor Lawrence with all the weapons that he's got. Now, understandably, the Texans have a great secondary. Jaguars don't have a very good defense at all.
No.
That from the looks of it, but still, it should be no excuse for Trevor Lawrence. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is trying to make a step up this season, and it's really not showing up.
And I think the biggest thing was it being a second loss in a row. If it had been a one-off thing, then it's like, okay, it's a divisional game, it's 1 week, whatever. But now that it's 2 in a row, it's like, okay, there's some problems there.
Yeah, it's given us something to worry about with the team because it's like, okay, you guys could have ran through the team. You have Tank Bigsby and ETN and.
He didn't do it.
Texans are just terrible on the run. I mean, they still played good, but still.
Yeah, C.J. Stroud had a really good game. C.J. Stroud's been a great quarterback this season. That's one thing that I will have to admit, that I thought C.J. Stroud was going to struggle a lot more than he has, and he has the third most passing yards of any quarterback right now, third or fourth, and
he's fifth. He's in the top 5,
and he has no interceptions.
No.
So you really can't, especially with as weak as that team. They're like besides like a couple guys like Nico Collins, you got Dameon Pierce back there who's kind of been mad this season. Like, who do you have on that skills group that's really going to like show out for C.J. Stroud? It's no one.
Right.
The fact that he's putting up good numbers is very impressive. I think the Texans, I mean, I guess they might be competitive for a wild card spot if they can keep up a hot streak. I don't think so. If I had to hedge my bets, I'm going to say no. They're still going to be one of the worst teams by the end of the season, but. I mean, if they can turn it around in that division at least and, you know, whoop the Jaguars one more time, whoop the Titans a couple times, like, you know, they got a shot to, you know, make something happen, especially if they can win a few of those, you know, non-divisional games. But I don't know. I guess it's hope for the Texans fans. But, I mean, overall, I think it says more about the Jaguars not being good now than the Texans being good.
Yeah.
But other than that, the Niners beat the Giants, which I think everyone kind of expected. I mean, Niners are arguably the best team in the NFL right now. The only one you can argue is better is the Dolphins. But either way, they're 1-2. And the Giants are like bottom 5 in most people's rankings. The Pats beat the Jets. I don't know why the line was so close. I don't know why people thought that was going to be a close game. It was a close game, I guess, 5 points. But I was like more confident that the Patriots are beating the Jets than, you know, most other games.
Right.
I just like at this point, the
Belichick
Patriots
owns the Jets. I mean,
he does, and they needed to win.
With Zach Wilson.
Yeah, and they needed to win. And they've been really good up till now, despite losing 2 games. And the Jets, obviously, having the worst starting quarterback in the league, allows you to not be that efficient on offense. The Lions-Falcons game was it was brutal. It was brutal.
Yeah, honestly, the game needed a little bit more on both ends. It wasn't a very high-scoring game at all.
No, the Lions' offense obviously played better than the Falcons' offense, but still didn't do anything crazy. But the problem for the Falcons was that the Lions had so much pressure that whole game. In the first 2 games of the season, the Lions had 1 sack total. They had 0 in week 1 and 1 in week 2. They had 7 sacks against the Falcons. The offensive line of the Falcons could not hold up. So Desmond Ridder was either getting sacked or had heavy pressure every time he was throwing the ball. And the run game couldn't get anything going because they had no offensive line to protect them. So I don't know what the Falcons are going to do going forward. Obviously, they need some work on that offensive line. The players on the offensive line are good.
Yeah, they are.
I
just think they're not used to like the type of overload in the box that the Lions came through. And I mean, you have Aiden Hutchinson there. That guy's a unit and a half.
Yeah, and Branch had a game. He's a rookie. He had a monster game.
Brian Branch, yeah.
The only thing I really want to talk about with that specifically is the hit that he had on Bijan. I don't know if you saw it.
I did not.
Yeah, I didn't think so because I know you didn't watch that game, but he had a hit late in the game. The Falcons are backed up into their own territory. Bijan Robinson goes and runs it up the side. And Branch, as Bijan's like going, he's like not sliding down, but he's like going down, like kind of leaning back to go down. And Brian Branch just lowers his head and just levels him, knocks his helmet off. And obviously that was in a penalty because he should not have hit him that hard or the way he did or anything like that. But the one thing that I really didn't like about that afterwards is everyone commentating on it said it was a clean hit. And it was a good hit by Brian Branch, and that the penalty, had to be called because he got his helmet off, but like that was on Bijan for like going down. It's like, well, that's what you do when you're gonna, you just kind of like if you know you're not gonna get any more, and you're in that stage of the game, you go down. He didn't need to lower his head, helmet to helmet, and hit him so hard that he knocked his helmet off. Like,
right.
As a Lions fan, I guess you like it because why would you not like your players injuring others? But I mean, I think as anyone who wants players to be healthy and have a long career, especially someone as young as him, I mean, taking headshots like that is. I mean, one of those can end your career.
Right.
So I don't think anyone should be celebrating that hit. I mean,
safety beyond everything.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't think Branch should be fined or anything. I think just having the penalty was enough. But I don't think that's a hit worth celebrating and being proud of necessarily, which is what it seems like a lot of people, even non-Lions fans, are. But Chargers-Vikings.
Speaking of hits, Chargers-Vikings. That you were right. You were right about how that Chargers secondary operates, man. They are killers.
They are.
They like late at the end of the game when the Vikings are trying to make a comeback. They destroy Amon-Ra. They destroy T.J. Hawkinson. Two dudes come and sandwich T.J. Hawkinson.
I'm guessing by Amon-Ra you meant Jay Jettas.
I mean Jay Jettas. Yeah, my bad.
I figured.
I'm sorry, I was still talking about the Lions.
No, you're fine. I just wanted to clarify for all the people watching.
Yeah,
Jay Jettas. You're a monkey.
Oh, sorry.
But that
Jordan Addison. I mean, they're just taking shots.
But aside from that, it was what I expected, which was game of the week, ignoring the Miami Dolphins game and the Broncos game because that was a unique thing that we're going to get into in a minute. But that was the game of the week. It was very high scoring. It came down to like every drive for each team mattered. That was deciding the game. I had several bets on that game for basically just hitting the overall like passing touchdowns, total touchdowns, yards, all that stuff, and I hit all of them. That's where I ended up going even because my parlays for game winners, I either included the Cowboys or the Jags on everything, and those obviously lost. But betting on my player props for this game, I'm undefeated on player props bets this season. I've made 4 so far, and I've won all of them, and they usually are like 3 to 4 legs. So. Yeah, take my betting advice. But either way, that was a really good game. The Chargers needed to win, I think, more so than the Vikings because the Chargers had a higher level of expectation for this season.
Right.
So good for the Chargers. I still think they have a lot to be concerned about.
Yes.
Because
expensive.
I mean, I think honestly, their defense. This is their best defensive game. Not because, which it sounds counterintuitive because they allowed the most points, but that's the best offense they've played all season.
Yeah.
The Vikings have. Probably a top 3 offense. Like Kirk Cousins is having one of the best quarterback seasons. If he stays on pace, he'll have the best quarterback season of any quarterback of all time. Kirk Cousins is playing his ass off. Jay Jettas is obviously one of the best in the league, if not the best wide receiver in the league, and is playing like it. T.J. Hawkinson is so far the best tight end in the league. Mm-hmm. The only thing that's weak is that run game, but when you are in situations like the Vikings have been in, you're passing anyway. So the Vikings offense is crazy good. The Chargers, I mean, obviously you're not going to win a Super Bowl allowing that many points, but I think that was one of their better defensive showings.
Oh, yeah.
It was enough that the Chargers offense could win. Like, still, once again, they should be concerned that defense is still allowing that many points and that many yards. But they got their win, and at the end of the day, that's what matters. Right. So, good
shout out to Mike Williams. Unfortunate ACL
tear out for the season, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's gonna. So, I mean, it's gonna be the Josh Palmer, Keenan Allen show.
Which Keenan Allen.
How do you have that many receptions and yards and a passing touchdown?
Yeah, like 200 yards, a passing touchdown, a receiving touchdown, and the passing touchdown was like 45 yards, something like that. Like it was crazy. Which I love plays like that where you get like a wide receiver. Like I remember whenever Odell was doing that in Cleveland, those plays are always fun to watch, and you just toss it back to them, and they have so much time, and they can just launch it because as soon as they toss it back to a wide receiver. The defense just immediately runs forward because they think, okay, Keenan Allen's just going to rush it.
It's a screen pass.
Yeah. And then as soon as everyone takes one step forward, Mike Williams has gassed every defender and has 20 yards of space between him and the next guy, wide open for a guy like Keenan Allen who can obviously throw the ball well enough to make that a completion and then get a touchdown. I wish teams would do that more, but obviously you have to kind of limit it or teams will start catching on. But the real game of the week, the game that shouldn't have been the game of the week,
shouldn't have been, but
the Chargers, the Vikings should have been, but the Dolphins Broncos game.
Let me just.
I have seen so many memes about this game, and they are all so good. There's one meme I saw, and I think I sent it to the group chat. And it's that scene from Family Guy where Meg is like tatted up and like acting like a hood rat, and she walks in and she's like, "Who's the toughest in the house?" And Peter's like, "Oh, I think I'm pretty tough." And she just beats the shit out of him, like curb stomps him on the stairs. And it's like it has the Broncos logo over Peter, and then the Dolphins logo over Meg. The Dolphins took a steamer on the Broncos. It was 70-20. Now, the highest scoring NFL game by one team of all time was 73 points by the Redskins, and that was just like 60 years ago, I believe, something like 5+ decades ago.
Right.
The Dolphins scored 70 points, and they could have scored more. But
we were just playing conservative right at the end of the game, man. We didn't want to hurt any of our players.
That's not what it was, because they benched some players and started playing guys like Devontae Chain, who had 200 yards and a couple touchdowns anyway. They scored not 10 total touchdowns, but they kneeled out the fourth quarter when they could have kicked a field goal to tie or gone for a touchdown to beat it. But Mike McDaniel said that he felt like it would have been disrespectful at that point, because beating that record obviously is something that you want to do. But it's more impressive if you do it in a game that's close or a game that matters more.
Right.
And he said that he would like to think that if he was in the opposite position, that the other team would show grace as well, and not pile on. Like, we're already up 70-20. We're not going to go for a touchdown with 30 seconds left.
Right.
In week 3 in a game that doesn't really matter too much when it's already been a win. So
it's already established who the winner is.
I respect that from Mike McDaniels. I wouldn't respect it if Mike McDaniels weren't the coach that he is, but he's one of those guys that we talked about last week that goes for it when there's 10 seconds left in the first half.
Yeah.
Goes for all the points he can get. If he wasn't one of those coaches, I wouldn't respect the decision, but because he is, you can truly understand that this was simply a sign of respect to guys like Russell Wilson and Sean Payton. And even you can say what you want about the team. They're all football players. They all have a certain level of respect for each other, and I think that's what we saw. But yeah, the Dolphins look disgusting right now.
And that was without Waddle too.
Yeah, they didn't need Waddle.
They didn't need him.
Like, if they had Waddle, they would have scored like 80. Yeah, but I mean, like, at that point, you've won. Like, in the biggest win in NFL history over the last 50 years. Like,
so,
that was.
I saw a stat line, Ethan. Top 5 fastest plays in the NFL. All 5 come from the Dolphins.
Yeah, they have the fastest team in the NFL by far.
Yeah.
Devonta Chain has like a 4.28 40. Yeah. Obviously, Tyreek Hill's crazy. Obviously, everyone knows Jalen Waddle's crazy. Mostert is fast, and no one knows it.
And old.
You don't talk about
He's old and fast.
Yeah, but Mostert and Devonta Chain each had 4 touchdowns and 200 yards. And Tyreek Hill, obviously, like, they stopped playing him after like the first half, but he had a touchdown and 100+ yards. A couple other receivers had some decent yardage as well, but the highlight of that offense was obviously Raheem Mostert that game, and then
the running game by the Dolphins that game was just.
Well, it's funny because going into the season, everyone, and even including you, said that the Dolphins are going to have one of the weaker running games in the NFL, and now they have 2 of the top 5 rushers. It took Devonta Chain 1 game because he hasn't played up until now. He did 1 snap in 1 game in week 2 and 0 in week 1. After week 3 only, he is in top 5 or top 10 rushing yards leaders for the season, which it's early enough that it's like not that crazy, but still, like, you've got 2 guys there, like,
yeah.
And obviously at some point, the Broncos gave up, but still, like, I said before the season, I thought Devonta Chain was going to be really good, and we just saw how good he can be.
Yeah.
So, I mean, good for them going forward. I mean,
great pickup this draft.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to suck off the Dolphins too much because everyone knows what they did. Everyone knows that they did. It's not like it's one thing that we need to, like, try to inflate, like, oh, it was a close game, but they actually did play really well. Like, they beat them 70-20. Like, that was, they almost hit triple digits solely off of the Dolphins' offense. Like, it wasn't even like they got pick sixes and, like, it was defensive scoring. It was just the Dolphins' offense. The Dolphins' defense obviously played great holding up to 20,
right.
But yeah, I mean, the Dolphins have to be the team to beat, not just in the AFC, but in the NFL at this point.
Oh, yeah.
The Niners are second, maybe first, depending on, what types of play you value, but undoubtedly the Dolphins are up there. After that statement win. I mean, it's the Broncos.
Statement and a half.
But the Titans-Browns is another game. This was one of the games of all time. It was very boring, very low scoring.
We both had Titans going on that one, right?
Yeah, and the Browns won.
Yeah.
Which I don't really care. I don't give a F about either team. I guess good for the Browns because, like, they're doing better in the AFC North now.
Right.
I'm not really going to talk about that one too much. The Titans suck. I've always thought they sucked this season. I'm not going to change my mind unless they go on a
Derrick Henry had
win streak.
2 fantasy points.
Yeah. What more can you say about that? The Titans are washed. It's a bunch of geezers playing football.
Yeah.
Bills, Commanders.
Expected.
Was expected. The Bills took the third biggest steamer of the week, because the second biggest was the Chiefs, which we'll get into. The third biggest steamer of the week on the Commanders, which is expected. The Commanders are obviously 2-0, but no one really thought they were a team. Early on in the season, you can get 2 wins, and like if you have an easy record, it doesn't mean anything. The Bills are obviously trying to prove something now that they're not really being talked about at all. Not at all, especially being in the same division as the Dolphins. They're like, no one's talking about the Bills.
Nope.
Like they're somehow a sleeper team at this point.
They're going to talk about them this week. Dolphins are playing Bills this week.
They are. They're going to talk about the Bills getting blown out 70-0.
Yeah.
But we'll move on to one of the better games of the week. It was a little bit slower paced, but it was to be expected knowing what the situation was with certain players. The Colts and the Ravens.
Yes.
The Colts upset the Ravens with their backup quarterback, and
in overtime, right?
yeah, in overtime, kicked the field goal to win it. Now, one thing I want to say about this game, before I get into the analysis of Lamar Jackson and the Ravens not being that good, I thought they struggled. In week 1 and 2, I told you, we talked about this, they won, but they didn't look that impressive.
Yeah.
I thought their day was coming where they were going to lose one to a decent team, and this is what it was.
Yeah.
The Colts have looked very good. They have, on paper, the third best defense so far this season after 3 games. Third best defensive league, and that's with DeForest Buckner being questionable.
Right.
They are playing with a backup quarterback in Gardner Minshew. They have no running back right now without Jonathan Taylor's out. Zach Moss obviously stepped up.
Stepping up.
It's been insane.
Your receiving core isn't all that to be bragged about.
It's the bottom half of the league, but not the worst in the league
Not
at this
the
point.
worst.
Michael Pittman has stepped back into that true wide receiver 1 role that people believe he can be viable in not
Right.
only fantasy, but on a team as wide receiver 1. But not having Anthony Richardson or Jonathan Taylor, and this team still managing to beat the Ravens, who are even still after this game, Ravens are a top 10 power ranked team in the NFL.
Right. And arguably the winners of the AFC North, honestly. They could be.
Yeah, 100%. Which that's a
and-
tight North. There's 3 2-1 teams in the Steelers, Browns, and Ravens at this point, and the Bengals are, now that they're out of weeks 1 and 2, they will start winning games. Joe Burrow is 1-7 in week 1 and 2 games throughout his career, so that's just something to think about. We said it before, but Joe Burrow being bad in week 1 and 2, that's just expected. That's how it always is. But anyway, back to the
good
Colts.
win by the
Ravens.
Colts.
Yeah, good by the Colts. I think the Colts are the team to beat in the AFC South at this point, and I think one of the better teams in the AFC because just because of what they're doing with how little they have, and you know that at some point Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor are going to come back. And they're going to be even better. Like, Zach Moss can go for 200 yards, but you also have Jonathan Taylor, who can go for 2,000 yards and 25 touchdowns in a season. You have that much of a dynamic running game. You got guys like Michael Pittman as well, who's a good receiver, and you got guys like Anthony Richardson, who are mobile, and Gardner Minshew is pretty mobile, too. But the one thing I want to mention about this game, I saw a little sorry Ravens fan in a comment section complaining that the only reason the Colts won is because the Ravens had a bunch of injured players. They had a bunch of starters injured on the offensive defense. The Colts didn't have their starting quarterback or the starting running back, who's one of the best, arguably the best running back in the league.
That's already like a lot more significant loss
exactly.
Like, I'd rather have Lamar be my QB and then Minshew, and then not say
Mark Andrews than any wide receiver or tight end on the Colts team. The Ravens obviously have injuries, but the Colts do too, and their Colts injuries are more significant in terms of positional value.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, the Ravens stunk this week, and good for the Colts. I like the Colts. I like the Colts, so I'm really happy about this. I thought that they were going to be one of those 5-win teams this season, but they're proving me wrong, and I'm happy about it. I hope they go on a little run here, and
they honestly might.
Maybe we'll get a Colts-Dolphins AFC Championship game. That'd be one of the best run games in the NFL versus one of the best pass games in the NFL. By that point, probably the best run and best pass game. When Jonathan Taylor comes back, if Zach Moss is still performing, that'll be the best run game in the NFL.
Possibly,
and the Dolphins being the best pass game in the NFL.
Zach Moss really stepped it up this year.
Oh, yeah. He's going crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And he's better than most. He had the best week of any running back besides Mostert and A-Chain, who that was like a very isolated incident. He had the best week of any running back. Over 200 yards on the ground. And that was a close game. It wasn't one of those blowouts, but the Seahawks beat the Panthers as well. I think that was kind of expected. It was a little bit higher scoring, 37-27. Andy Dalton played because Bryce Young was out, so I don't know. Not much to say there. The Panthers are still losing, which was expected just because they're in a rebuild, and the Seahawks are going for the playoffs this year, so expected of them to get a win. Second biggest steamer of the week. I guess we'll do the weekly steamer rankings now.
Weekly steamers. Top 3 steamers.
The Dolphins won. We had the Dolphins won, Bills 3. The Chiefs are number 2. And they could have passed the Dolphins for number 1 because in the first half, they scored 40 points on the Bears, held the Bears to 0, and then they benched everyone, including Patrick Mahomes, and Blaine Gabbert came in and threw 2 picks immediately. Which I get. Obviously, bench your players, rest your starters.
Taylor
guys
Swift hates Chicago.
No, we'll talk about Taylor Swift later. But yeah, The Chiefs probably could have gone on to score 72 because they scored 40 in the first half, but they benched everyone, which is fine. That's what you got to do when you're up that much. But yeah,
Right.
Second biggest steamer of the week. Even with Blaine Gabbert throwing 2 picks immediately, the Bears still couldn't score more than 10 points. And the Chiefs defense isn't bad, obviously, guys like Chris Jones and Nick Bolton, but they're not one of the premier defenses in the league. But yeah, I think the Justin Fields experiment is over. I think it should be. I said this after last week too. I'm saying it again after week 3. At what point do you just say it's enough?
Bum of the season.
Well, yeah, bust of the season. People thought he was going to be MVP candidate. They're going to go to the playoffs with 13, 14 wins, and he cannot do anything. And not only can he not do anything, he's blaming his team.
Yeah.
He's not even taking the blame himself, which is the most unrespectable thing you can do as an NFL player is blame someone other than yourself. I'll give you a good comparison. Kirk Cousins losing to the Chargers, despite throwing 400 pass yards and 3 touchdowns and 0 interceptions and no turnovers and all this other shit that Kirk Cousins does, he still says, that's on me. I could have done this pass better. Whenever Jay Jettas got in the end zone and he fumbled it in there, this might have been the week after week 2.
Yeah.
Whenever he got to the end zone and fumbled it in, if I had just on the ball a little more, he wouldn't have had to stumble and then get in there. It's like, dude, you carried that team on your back. You're one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and you're still taking the blame.
Right.
That is the most respectable thing you can do. Then you got Justin Fields, who is an absolute garbage can of a quarterback, cannot throw the ball, can't run anymore, drops back 20 yards before deciding to scramble and get a positive 1 yard or negative 1 yard, and he blames the team. I understand your team is not the best. You have not good play calling. You, at this point, don't have a good running back core. Your receiving core is good on paper, so you should be doing something with guys like Cole Kmet, Chase Claypool, and DJ Moore. I mean, for their division, it's not like the NFC North has a premier wide receiver core besides the Vikings.
Right.
I guess you got Amon-Ra on the Lions, but other than that, there's no one really, especially with guys being out for gambling and getting fined for that. So, they have arguably the second best in the NFC North,
right?
And he's not doing anything with it. Definitely better receiving core than some other teams. You got the Giants receiving core; he's still dog shit, and they're still managing to do better. And that's with another shit team in the Giants. So, cut the losses. Tank for Caleb Williams, I guess. I don't like Caleb Williams at USC. I think he's a little frou-frou little man. Little frou-frou man. But either way, go for him because he's obviously good at playing quarterback. And at this point, even if he sucks, what do you lose by moving on from Justin Fields? He's not going to win you a game this season. But whatever. We'll move on. The Cowboys losing to the Cardinals. We kind of touched on this already.
Hate it.
But that was embarrassing by the Cowboys. It was mostly due to penalties. They had 11 or something penalties in the first half, which is ridiculous. But Dak didn't play that great. His stats were okay, but he played poorly in crucial moments. In stressful, game-winning decision moments, he choked. And then, I think the Cardinals just want to prove that they're not the worst, which I think they did. You can't say the Cardinals are worse than the Bears at this point, or the Broncos.
No.
I mean, the Cardinals beat the Cowboys, the Broncos got stomped by 70, and the Bears got stomped by 40, and only played against that team for half the game.
Playing against the practice squad second half.
Yeah. I mean, the Cardinals are...
I'd say the Cardinals are ranked 30.
Yeah. Maybe 29 above the Panthers.
Yeah, around there.
Yeah, that's fine. But I'm not going to say much about this game because everyone already knows how this is. The Cowboys, it's the circle of life for the Cowboys. They beat trash teams, get delusional, say they're going to the Super Bowl, and then lose to a trash team, and realize that Dak sucks and can't get him a ring.
Yep.
Or Mike McCarthy sucks and can't get him a ring.
I think a lot of it's got to do with Mike McCarthy.
I do too. I never thought Mike McCarthy was a good coach.
No.
He won a ring with Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers is top 3 quarterback of all time. Obviously, you're going to win rings with that. Kind of same thing we're seeing with Sean Payton. He won a ring with Drew Brees, but now what are you doing with the Broncos?
I hate Russell Wilson, and that game really showed me that Russell Wilson just ain't there.
No, Russell Wilson in the head is what you're saying, right? In the head, he's not there.
Yeah.
Steelers won, so good for them.
Good. Against the Raiders.
Yeah, I said before the season that I thought they were one of my picks to win the division, and I think they could still do it because that AFC North is so tight right now.
It's still competitive.
Beating the Raiders isn't that much of anything to celebrate. What we kind of learned so far with the Steelers this season. Well, let's talk about the Raiders.
And Jimmy G's hurt now, right?
Who knows and who cares? The Raiders suck either way. They're the worst team. That's not the winless Cardinals, Bears,
right.
Broncos. They're the worst. They're not good, and they're in a tough division. I guess the Broncos suck, but the Chargers and Chiefs are both good, even with the Chargers' record being bad. But the Steelers need to fire Matt Canada. Their offensive coordinator is garbage. Since he's come to Pittsburgh, he has not done anything good with that offense. Kenny Pickett has shown flashes of being an incredible quarterback, and I'm still on the Kenny Pickett train. I think he's going to be a great quarterback in the NFL.
Right.
Najee Harris has not been good, but you look at the timeline, he stopped being good when Matt Canada got in. His run game is extremely basic, and he has no concept of how to pass the ball. Fire Matt Canada, put anyone else in that offensive coordinating position, and I think the Steelers have put me in there. I'll go do it.
Give it to him.
I'll do it.
He needs a job.
Yeah. I'll tell you, if you're offering me the offensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers, yeah, I will quit any job I do to do that. I don't even like the Steelers, but yeah, I'm taking that job. But yeah, get rid of Matt Canada, and I think they have a legit shot this season. But if they don't do that, they're going to be they're probably going to win 9 games and go 9-8. But I don't know. The Bucs lost to the Eagles. We were both hopeful the Bucs would be able to pull it out of their ass, but unfortunately they didn't. The Eagles did look better. First 2 weeks they won, but didn't look that good. In my opinion, their defense their offense just was not looking as good as it was last season. This game they stepped it up a little bit. They handsomely beat the Buccaneers 25-11. So defense obviously got some good stops. 25 points is decent. Obviously, I still would expect more out of the Eagles with as much talent as they have, but they still won, and a win is a win. They're 3-0. Rams-Bengals was a sleeper. This is a snooze fest. I expected this game to be really good. It was field goal, then 3rd and out, then field goal, then 3rd and out, then 3rd and out, and then field goal, and then 3rd and out, and then field goal.
And then a touchdown, and a touchdown, and a field goal, and a field goal.
Yeah, very boring, very low scoring. Joe Burrow shouldn't have played because he's still nursing that calf injury, but they came in and won, so whatever. I'm kind of not surprised because the Rams are still, a little bit beat up. Kyron Williams is just now stepping into that number 1 role now that Cam Akers is out. Puka Nacua is now being perceived as a real threat in the NFL.
Yeah.
And Cooper Kupp is still out, so, I get it. The Rams, I think, will bounce back in a couple weeks and still be a decent enough team to maybe compete for a wildcard spot in the NFC, but good for the Bengals. It's no longer week 1 or 2, so they're going to start playing a little bit better, so good for them. It's about all for week 2, unless you got anything to add.
No.
I'll just reiterate one more time. Dolphins, Chiefs, Bills, first teamers of the week. They're all AFC teams, by the way. I don't know if you caught that.
Yeah, they are.
AFC on top.
The AFC is completely stacked. I mean, the AFC outshines the NFC any day of the week right now.
Yeah, overall they definitely do. Yeah. But anyway, thanks for watching. Hey. Check out our next video. We got a couple more for weekend bets and weekend predictions and some other stuff. So close this up.
Stay frosty, my friends.